Two big votes in the U.S. House today. The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or SAVE Act, is a major voter suppression measure that, if it becomes law, will disenfranchise millions of eligible voters and badly undermine U.S. democracy. A lot of women are not happy at all about that particular bill as well. Plus, Republicans, they are able to battle their own members when it comes to this other particular bill that deals with the budget. Democrats like Stacey Plaskett, they say some $7 billion is going to be added to the deficit as a result of this bill. They are challenging Republicans as well on how much this bill is going to impact regular, ordinary Americans. Now, let's just be real clear. Let's deal with the SAVE Act first. Married women are really upset about this particular bill because of the impact on them. Republicans keep claiming, with no proof whatsoever, voter fraud, voter fraud. You got an idiot in the White House who believes in voter fraud as well, that he got cheated out of the election, but the other Republicans who were on the same ballot, somehow that worked, but these fools, it didn't. So this bill's going to change how we register to vote. So the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act require documentary proof of citizenship before you can register or update your video voter info. Now, on the surface, that may sound real, but let's talk about what that really means, especially for black folks, women, young folks, rural communities, and anyone who's ever had to jump through hoops just to get basic paperwork. If this bill becomes law, you would need to show a passport, which costs you money, a birth certificate, or something like a real ID just to register to vote in person. That means no more online signups, no more registration drives at churches or barbershops, no more signing up by mail. It also means if you get married and change your name, women, you could be blocked from voting unless you track down your marriage license. And that ain't easy. Check this out. Non-citizens already can't legally vote in federal elections. It's a crime, with big penalties like prison time and deportation. But according to Republicans like Chip Roy of Texas, who introduced the bill, this is going to stop voter fraud, except actual cases of voter fraud are essentially non-existent. Like smaller than that. The bill passed the House with full Republican support and even 4 Democrats. Now it goes over to the United States Senate. Let's talk to our panel, Dr. Nola Haynes, Georgetown University School of Foreign Service out of D.C., Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University, Reese Colbert. She is the host of the Reese Colbert Show on Sirius XM Radio, joining us from D.C. as well. So, Reese, you're married. I'll deal with you first. I was on my way here and I was talking to a frat brother of mine, and he was like, yeah, bruh, my wife is really pissed about that particular bill. So I said, I think we'll be talking about it. He was just saying how she was just going off. This is the latest BS from these Republicans. And when we talk about this, how this means, I remember, so I have TSA pre and I have clear. Well, for the longest, my wife didn't have TSA pre. I'm like, yo, what in the hell? What is taking so long? Well, she needed the marriage license for TSA pre, and it was taking forever. And she had to get it when we went back to Texas, because not only what they say what they need, they also want a certain type. So so this is all about shrinking the electorate.
Yeah. It is. And, I don't think it's a good idea to piss off a bunch of married women because at the end of the day, it's people going to do what they got to do. Most of the people are going to do what they got to do. But it just feels like an attack. You already took away abortion rights. You already took away all kind of other stuff. And now you're going after our ability to vote. I think this is actually going to hurt men more because women are going to be like, fuck it, I'm not taking your last name. I got to do all this, I got to do 15 things now just to have your last name. Sorry, not sorry. I'm going to be my maiden name till forever. So maybe if women did that, then, then maybe men would think twice about forcing women to have to jump through hoop after hoop after hoop after hoop just to do things that are within our right as citizens. So it's really, really, really jacked up. But you know what? Cheat now. Let us know. What you gonna do? Pull out all the tricks now, pull out all the stops now, give us time to prepare. Real ID is going into effect in May. Everybody get your documentation together, especially Black people. I'm not saying that alone will save you, because these people don't give a damn about the law. But the more documentation that you have, I'm not justifying what these people are doing, but I'm saying for our survival purposes, the more documentation that we have, the more ducks in a row that we have, the more readily access we have to our birth certificate, social security, passport, real ID, all that stuff, then maybe, if I'm being optimistic, that might save us a little bit of a headache elsewhere. So I'm trying to see the silver lining here in the fact that this is just another way that it's showing us that we got to get ready to go to war in this country.
But it's not just married women, Nola. Janessa Goldbeck is the CEO of the Vet Voice Foundation. And this here was a video that the Vote Vets that Vet Voice Foundation posted on their Twitter feed, because this bill is going to impact the military. Listen.
Hi, I'm Janessa Goldbeck, Marine Corps veteran and CEO of Vet Voice Foundation. In the Marines, one of my billets was voting assistance officer, helping troops and their families vote no matter where they were stationed. And that's why I want to talk to you today about a dangerous bill Congress will vote on this week, the SAVE Act, which will make it much harder for people in uniform to vote. The SAVE Act would require any American registering to vote or re-registering to prove their citizenship first in person at a government office using a passport or birth certificate. A driver's license doesn't count, and military IDs don't count either. Here's the problem, though. Less than half of American adults have a valid passport. Millions don't have easy access to a birth certificate. And if you're deployed overseas or stationed somewhere remote, how are you supposed to show up in person at an office in the US with your birth certificate? You're not. So let's be clear. Every state already has strong safeguards to ensure only eligible citizens vote. Our elections are secure and run locally by bipartisan officials. Essentially, the SAVE Act would strip voting access from millions of American citizens, especially troops, disabled veterans, and military families stationed overseas. It's red tape designed to silence the very people who risk everything for this country. At Vet Voice Foundation, we represent nearly 2 million veterans and military families, and we're telling Congress absolutely not on the SAVE Act. If you care about protecting your vote, speak up. Call or tag your representatives and tell them, please stand up for our men and women in uniform, please stand up for disabled veterans, and vote no on the SAVE Act.
So that's what they posted. Oh, by the way, if you're actually trying to get a passport for first-time users, Nola, for first-time, it's $165, which includes a $130 application fee plus a $35 execution fee. If you're renewing your passport, it's $130. So Republicans are saying you're going to pay a tax. This is essentially a poll tax.
Absolutely. And, it's also a tax to get your birth certificate. I recently had to go through all of that as someone who has 2 last names. I had to get all of my documentation, my passport, my birth certificate from New Orleans. Like, it was a whole thing, and it cost a few coins. This is yet another blatant attempt. It is what it is on its face. It is what it is on its face. It is voter suppression. And it's also designed to, make people, all of these things that's chipping away at our rights, at our liberties, is designed to fatigue us, right? Because it's going to be more of this. It's going to be more of jumping through hoops. It's going to be a higher cost to pay to dissent and to participate. And all of this is part of the authoritarian playbook. And I know that we are fatigued, especially as women, like Reese mentioned earlier. This started last year. Well, even before then, we can go all the way back to Ronald Reagan. But the way that Republicans keep chipping away at women, it's as if we don't have a voice, that we can't say what we want for ourselves, that somehow, and actually, I want to say something. I'm also really offended by the way that Republicans do this thing with branding, the SAVE Act. Save from what? everybody needs saving from them. Like that really irritates me how they do those word tricks like that. Because when you hear, when they're when the cult hears something like the SAVE Act, the first thing they think of is that, oh, Donald Trump is coming in, to save us again from something. And the whole thing just irritates me. The vote irritated me. The way that they're messing with women, like literally all of it.
Well, here's
irritating.
Well, here's the thing here, Greg. I mean, I get Nola's point, but guess what? That's what branding is all about. That's what they do. They actually do that far more effective than Democrats, and so it's them trying to control the narrative. The issue for me is, like, I'm sitting here, I'm going on. So if y'all need to, go to my iPad. So I see Eric Swalwell posted a video 51 minutes ago. Here's a video. Democratic Women's Caucus posted 21 hours ago. Something from Congresswoman Ilhan Omar 6 hours ago. Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs 9 hours ago. Congressman Morgan McGarvey 5 hours ago. Vet Voice Foundation 5 hours ago. And I would look at others. I go down here. This is Congresswoman Nikema Williams 7 hours ago. Let's see here. So I'm going here. So here's the question that I would have for a lot of these Democrats. Where was the narrative forming over the past 2 weeks? I can tell you, Greg, if I pull up, let me just see again, so if I type in my email, SAVE Act, and type that in, I do not see many statements going back before this week about the SAVE Act. See, this is one of those things that if you're trying to rally opposition, you kind of got to do it, not the day of or the day before. I don't know about Reese, but I don't know a lot of content creators they were pushing this out to.
No. And while this is clearly an error, a tactical error, I don't think it's a fatal error for this reason. History, if it doesn't teach us anything else, history teaches us that our species, Homo sapiens, is pretty predictable. When pushed against a wall, we react. The first law of nature, as folk often like to say, so much so that it becomes almost a truism, is self-preservation. What does political self-preservation look like in a white criminal enterprise like the United States of America, which was rooted in the criminal enterprise of settler colonialism? It looks like what we're experiencing today. For those who read the novel, Margaret Atwood's novel, The Handmaid's Tale, or saw the Hulu television series, the men who are really at the center of this, little men like Mike Johnson, the MAGA Muppet, little men like Junior Varsity Vance, and even Donald John Trump. It's almost like they were all cast. These are very deeply insecure human beings driven by fear, hatred, and at the end of the day, very insecure. What you can guarantee is that in their insecurity, they will bleed out this hate-filled vision, because they're not being fully developed in terms of their own social function. They will attempt to craft a society in which they are in control. But the historical reality has been that they are never in control. Sometimes little men like Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, can cause a lot of damage. And there's a lot of blood in the streets as a result of their choices. Other times, little men like Strom Thurmond or Jesse Helms, little men like George Wallace, these little men like Ronald Reagan, these little men like Donald Trump, they will affect a political crisis, Richard Nixon. And what you find is that people push back. Finally, what we're faced here with this SAVE Act is the largest, in fact, some legal scholars are calling it the first federal voter suppression bill. I would probably go so far as to go back to the Fugitive Slave Act or even to the Constitution if we start talking about incorporating us, because they're not talking about us. But what is the reaction? Well, there are a couple of things that will happen.
And actually, Greg, to your point, the CEO of the Brennan Center, Michael Wallman, said the House has just passed one of the worst pieces of voting legislation in American history. The Senate must stop it. The SAVE Act would put voting out of reach for millions of American citizens. And he said one of the worst in American history.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will stop just short, not quite, but just short of embracing this legislation for this reason. One of these days, we're going to figure out that our vision of an America where everybody is included is diametrically opposed to the white supremacist vision that is literally hardwired into the founding documents of this criminal enterprise. And I think we're getting to the point where we're finally beginning to realize that. What happens in the wake of that? This SAVE Act is going to disfranchise millions of the hillbilly horde in the flyover states, those who have very, very few resources in the so-called blue states. We have an opportunity here. Let's say the legislation passes it's passed the House. Let's say it passes the Senate and it goes on to the clown's desk to sign. And now it's the law. I agree with you, Nolan, and Reese. We now then marshal our resources, and with a shrunken electorate, we make sure that those who are eligible to vote overwhelm the ones that are not. This is going to cut the throats of millions of their hillbilly horde who will show up unable to vote. That means that we've shrunken the field of combat. And it will take us coming to power again to reverse this. But if this indeed becomes the law, I'm not only ready for it, I embrace it. I embrace it for this reason. When the pain is so great that they turn on each other, we need to stand back and not only watch that violence, but take advantage of that political violence, because that's what's going to happen. The MAGA Muppet could lose his seat in Louisiana because his own constituents will not have the documents to be able to vote for him. Meanwhile, the black people who live in his district and the non-blacks who are fully human, not the white supremacists, we can marshal our resources and ensure that they have the $200 to get the passport, to retrieve the documents. If the documents are irretrievable, to figure out workarounds and other ways to make sure that they can patch that together. We can fight and do many things at once. I'm not saying that this is a loss yet. I'm saying we have to now be very clear about where we are and how to move forward. Finally, I know you saw the news today that actually just broke that these devils are going to try to take the Social Security numbers of legal immigrants to this country and file them under what they call the Death Master file in Social Security, where people who are dead shouldn't get benefits and won't get benefits anymore. They want to put living people in the death file so they can strip them of Social Security numbers so they can't get bank accounts or credit cards or things like that. They are going to continue in their hate-filled, insecurity-driven campaign until they have created enough people who will fight them in the courts, fight them in the voting booth, fight them in the legislature, and fight them in the streets. And I'm telling you, they're not ready for that.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.